Welcome, adventurer, to the Broken Empires, a vast fantasy world. Choose your strengths wisely, and stop at nothing to pursue your goals, and fight those who would stand in your way. Use combat maneuvers to choose your tactics and win. Test your wits and cunning against those who would use words as they would a weapon. Call upon your magic by combining binds and strands to smite your enemies. Will you succumb to fatigue, or will your journey lead to glory? The Broken Empires role-playing game, now on Kickstarter.
Professor DM here, and this channel is about all things tabletop role-playing games. The new D&D is out, and you might be very happy with it. Personally, to me, it's a little PG. I prefer a game that's a little more grimdark, with characters on the cover who actually look like they can kick some ass. And just such a game is kickstarting now. It's called The Broken Empires, and this week I sit down with one of its designers, Trevor Devall, to talk about it. Today on Dungeon Craft.
Deathbringer here. Like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, and sign up for the Deathbringer RPG newsletter below.
Welcome to Dungeon Craft. I'm Professor DM. This channel is about all things tabletop role-playing games. If that's what you're into, you want to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you know as soon as we release new content. This week I sit down with Trevor Devall, the designer of Broken Empires. You may know him from his voiceover work or his excellent YouTube channel, Me, Myself, and I. And we talk about the system, the world, and some gritty, grimdark fun.
The pitch of the Broken Empires. The Broken Empires is a brand new tabletop RPG that is based on my YouTube channel world that I've set my adventures in. It is a dramatic fantasy sim-like role-playing game. What does that mean? Dramatic means that it is all about the characters pursuing goals and having very hard lives doing so. Fantasy is obviously, fantasy. Sim-light is the big one. Simulation light. I tend to fall on the simulation side of things, which means I like detail of resolution. And sometimes every game exists on an axis between detail of resolution and speed of play. My game is sort of towards the detail of resolution, but just pulled back towards speed of play a little bit. We can talk more about that. But yeah, it is. Other than that, it's basically cribbed together of like 40 years worth of role-playing games, because I've been playing these games for many years. And I basically took all of the things that I liked about all those games and I put them together under one structure and made them work together. And sometimes I had to jam them in there to make sure that they did. But so far, so good.
Tell me about the world of the Broken Empires.
Sure. So the world of the Broken Empires, as I said, is based on Me, Myself, and I, which is my YouTube channel. And on that channel, I started the channel by doing solo role-playing. And what that meant was I was making everything up as I went along, but using a tool called the Mythic GM emulator. And I started with nothing. I started with a character named Simon. He was a ranger. I was using the Savage Worlds game system. I knew nothing. I put him basically in a situation where he was in the middle of the forest, and because of the Mythic GM emulator in that first episode, we found out that he was trying to save his half-orc best friend from being murdered or killed by a mob, basically, for a crime he didn't commit. And all of that was random. And from that point, I've done 4 seasons and developed this entire world. And there's been geographies and gods and monsters and NPCs and all this stuff that just arrived out of that one simple situation. So this game is set in that world.
I have to ask about the art.
Yes.
Art is fantastic. It's badass. Who did that art?
That was done, our cover was done by a Spanish artist named David Benzal, who's worked on all kinds of stuff. He's worked on Hollywood productions. He's worked on many things. And we were very lucky to find him, and he's super enthusiastic about bringing the Broken Empires to life. So that was a real find. We have artists from all over the world who help contribute. We've got another Spanish artist named Gons. We have a couple of cartographers from Scotland and Canada. We've got another artist from Portugal who does a lot of environmental art for us. We have James of James RPG Art, who's one of my patrons, actually. He provides a ton of stuff for us. So it's been great. But that cover specifically, I'm very proud of it because those 4 characters are the 4 protagonists from the 4 seasons of my show. And I'm glad that you said that. I'm glad that you said that they're gritty, because what I wanted to portray was this is a game about hard choices and real people. This is not a game about superheroes going around slaying hordes of minions and having all these incredible powers. That's not what this is. The fact is, I'm making a game for grown-ups. I'm making a game for mature players who understand that this is a game about hard decisions and tough choices.
The mechanics are very different. Whether your character hits and the location and the damage all in one roll, and it's a skill-based system. So talk about that.
So the thing I like about, let's just talk about the combat system, because that's the best way to sort of highlight this. What I like in a game is I like a game that takes the narrative burden off of the shoulders of the GM. So I like a game that supports my ability to describe things. So in a combat, I don't like the nebulousness of I roll to hit against a nebulous armor class and do 5 nebulous hit points, and then I have to make up what that means. I don't know, I guess you hit him in the head and nothing happens until he hits 0. I've never liked that. What I like is a system that helps me riff, right? So I like a system that says that if I swing, that I'm going to know if I hit, in other words, if I rolled under my skill, that if the enemy was able to defend against that, because they have a chance to do that too, and the quality of their defense is going to impact the quality of my hit, right? They might get a piece of it. And I want to know where I struck them. Did I strike them in the leg or the arm or the body or the head? Because that's going to have an immediate mechanical effect. If I hit you in the head hard enough, you're probably dazed and collapsed. If I hit you in the leg hard enough, you might collapse in front of me and now you're prone, and that has an immediate tactical implication. These are the details that I like a system to provide me, rather than having to make it up out of whole cloth. So, but I also want speed of play. So I don't want a bunch of charts, and I don't want a bunch of extra rolls in order to arrive at that. So what I did was I took a bunch of D100 systems from all over the place that I'm all familiar with, like Mithras and Delta Green and BRP and Call of Cthulhu. And I said, what's the best parts of all of these? So I took the blackjack system from Delta Green, which means that you want to roll under but high, because the tens die of your roll is your success levels. You want to get as many success levels. It's not just if you roll under, you want to roll under but high. Then the ones die is your hit location. That tells you right away what part of the body you're going to hit. And then the damage is also those success levels minus the defender's roll, plus if he has any armor. And then your base weapon has a damage as well. You put all of those together, and whatever's left over is a wound. And that wound has a point value, and that point value is rolled against with something called a wound die, which tells you whether or not that location is incapacitated. So while it sounds complex, and it is more complex certainly than Deathbringer, but what you get for that little bit of extra time is all of this wondrous detail that, again, I as a GM don't have to make up out of whole cloth. It just emerges naturally from the dice roll.
Magic. How does that work?
So Magic is inspired by a couple things. It's inspired largely by Ars Magica, which was a fantastic game. When I first found Ars Magica, I thought this is the best Magic system I've ever seen, because I want to keep Magic magical. The thing I detest about Magic systems based on spell lists is that Magic spells are always the same. It's a formula. You know, if I cast a Fireball on D&D, it's always going to do 8d6 damage. It's in this area or whatever. And to me, that's not magic. That's a tool. That's really no different than hitting a guy with a sword, right? So for me, I want the players to have maximum versatility with their powers, but that's contained by their training. Are they trained in controlling things as opposed to destroying things? Are they trained in perceiving things versus changing things? And what are those things? Is it the body? Is it the beasts of the wild? Is it magic itself? Is it the elements of fire or water or air? And so you take your skills in a bind, which is the verb, I'm going to control, and then you take the strand, which is the noun, the element of fire, I control fire, and you put those skills together, and you craft the effect working with the GM with a very, very simple formula, and that will give you a skill chance to be able to have your spell go off. However, the cosmology of the world means that these people who cast spells are called spell weavers, and what they literally do is they take the strands of reality from the tapestry of reality upon which we are all impatterned, and they reweave it to their advantage. But the tapestry of reality fights back. It does not like people messing with reality. So what that means is every time you cast a spell, there's a chance of something called a weave reaction, which could be all kinds of kooky things. Not always bad, but mostly bad. So it's very, very important that the spell weaver ensures that their magic does not gain the attention of the weave. So they're trying to make their power as subtle as possible, because the more the spell looks like something that maybe just happened naturally in nature or by coincidence, the less chance the weave's going to go, "What are you doing?" So it's a wildly versatile system, but it's also extremely dangerous to be a spell weaver, because reality is literally trying to tear you apart.
Social encounters. The classic question, you give a great speech and you're charismatic, but then you roll a 1. Or the opposite. What if you've got the super charismatic paladin played by an 8-year-old? You have threaded this needle. Explain how you did it.
So I believe that when you are playing a character, you should be playing that character. So if I am a really, really charismatic player, which I like to believe I am, if I am a very charismatic player and I'm playing a non-charismatic, let's put it in OSR terms. If I've got a charisma of 3, but I'm a big fighter, okay? And I want to convince a town council to, I don't know, to defend themselves against the orc invasion, let's say. Well, a lot of people would say, you know what, you don't need rules for that. Just make your case. Just role play it. But see, I'm a really charismatic player. So I know that if I come up with this incredible speech that's going to move the GM and he's going to be, "Oh my God, that's fantastic. Yes, he says yes." Well, guess what? I'm literally doing it wrong. I am not playing that character. I'm just playing me. Or conversely, the 8-year-old playing the paladin. There is no force on earth that's going to allow that 8-year-old to make that kind of impassioned speech that's going to move the GM. So therefore, social rules are very important if you value the idea that there's more than one way to skin a cat. If you value the idea that conflict is not just about combat. It is about trying to struggle against something to get what you want. And sometimes to get what you want means convincing someone of something else. So therefore, I turned social encounters into a tactical game. It's an optional. You don't have to use it every time, but you use it when there's something at stake for the characters. And it creates a tactical environment where the players have to be very, very careful about what they say, because when the player says what the character says, and you don't have to say it in first person, you could say, "Joe the fighter says this," but the words that are chosen will trigger the skill to be rolled. And that is assessed by both the GM and the rest of the table. So if someone says something very obviously intimidating, and the GM says roll intimidate, and the player says, "Well, I was trying to persuade," the GM and the table is going to go, "Dude, no, no, you weren't. Clearly, the words you told him you're going to punch him in the face. That's clearly intimidation." Now, if that character doesn't have a good intimidation skill, well, guess what? He's going to fail that roll, and he's going to count against the tolerance of that encounter, which could mean that the whole party could fail because of it. So immediately, what you get is this blending of player skill with character skill, and the two meet. And it's awesome. It's been so much fun.
I found the game plays just really smoothly, and I play tested with Kelsey Dion. We had a great time. I picked it up so quickly, and it's off to a great start, right? You're doing very well with Broken Empires on Kickstarter.
Yeah.
That's where we can find it.
Yeah, you can find it on Kickstarter if you just search the Broken Empires. We could probably put a link, I guess, below to the actual site. But yeah, we've done great. We're something like 2,000% funded now or something in the first day. So it's great. We've unlocked a bunch of really awesome stretch goals. The next big stretch goal right now, as of this recording, is the VTT integration. And I know there's a lot of people that are playing online these days. You and I are not those guys, but there are many people that are. And so I wanted to be able to provide that for them. So yeah, check it out.
Well, best of luck. And if you're a patron, we're going to continue our conversation. But good luck, Trevor.
Thank you, sir.
If you want to check out more with my interview with Trevor, you could do so on Patreon. Patrons get access to exclusive videos and tons more bonus content. Don't forget to sign up for the Deathbringer newsletter as well. I'll be back soon. May all your rolls be 20s.
Deathbringer here. I thought the Broken Empire was going to be about P. Diddy's career. My work is done here. Watch more Dungeon Craft.